I sense that you probably think this is a solid jobs report from your vantage point.
Yeah, John, we think it's quite solid. If you think of it big picture, in the last 12 months, we've added 2.1 million private sector jobs. That's averaging 175,000. You have the highest wages you've seen in 8 years. You have an economy which is set to grow at 2.5% real, with, quite frankly, some upside risk when the potential growth in the economy maybe is 1.5%. That means just through Okun's Law alone, you're going to see continued decline in the unemployment rate. It wouldn't surprise me if we get to 3.5% unemployment by the end of this year. And the other thing, Jonathan, and you and I have talked about this repeatedly over the last several months on your program, we are seeing evidence from a bottom-up perspective across a broader set of companies that you're starting to see capacity constraints in wage data. Labor is getting pricing power again. You see that in the ISM supplier delivery index. You see that in prices paid. We see it in the bottom-up evidence. So there's going to be higher wages paid. And remember, this unemployment rate is 4%. In the last 70 years, we have never seen the unemployment rate at 4% when the deficit spending is set to increase from 4% deficits to 5%. So this is an economy that's running hot right now.
Danny, we do see those supply constraints, not just in the United States, but in Europe as well. They do exist, Danny. They're in the data.
Well, that's interesting, but there's no wage growth. I mean, I thought what was interesting, the gentleman just said everything's going hunky-dory. I mean, clearly there's some solidity here, but U6 has gone in the other direction. We have never seen an economy in this position after a recovery where the employment rate is still 3 whole percentage points below its starting level. So that's a little confusing. There are all these people out there who potentially would like to come back to the labor force. So we will see. This is pretty solid, but tightening is coming. But the fact is, how can you ignore the fact that the most sensible broad measure of unemployment has actually gone up, not down? I mean, I'm not saying it's not a solid report, but you asked me what would my focus be. My focus would be actually no one's mentioned that it's ticked up for the last 2 months. And the black unemployment rate went from 6.8 to 7.7 in a single month. I'm not saying the 7.7 is the right thing, but there's still volatility here. The US labor market has been performing pretty well, but there are still millions of people who would like to get back in to get to jobs, and the Fed is tightening. So this labor market is going to slow.